I'm Abigail Spanberger, and I am the U.S. Representative for Virginia's 7th District, and I work here at Capitol Hill. I am so excited to be able to give you all a virtual tour of the building, share a little bit of history, and talk about my priorities. One of my favorite things working here is to be able to welcome 7th District constituents to Capitol Hill. But I know that for a variety of reasons, individuals, students, families are not always able to make it to Capitol Hill. So today I'm going to show you around, tell you a little bit about the history of this rich historical site, the United States Capitol, talk a little bit more about my job representing you, and share some priorities. So thanks for joining. For more than 200 years, the building behind me has been the center of our legislative branch of government, the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate. This is where we meet to debate laws, to write laws, to pass laws, and to do the business of governing. Originally, this land was a wooded site, and in 1791, President George Washington authorized the construction of the United States Capitol. And the Capitol was built predominantly by the forced work of enslaved laborers. Today, this building and the buildings around it occupy 58 acres of office buildings, the Capitol complex, and gardens. These are the steps where Abraham Lincoln gave his second inaugural address. And at the time, he sought to bring together a divided nation. And from these steps, he famously said, "With malice towards none, with charity for all." At the top of the Capitol sits the Statue of Freedom. She weighs 15,000 pounds and faces east. So now let's head inside for a tour of the Capitol complex. Behind me is the Capitol Visitor Center. This is the most recent addition to the Capitol complex. And this was built to accommodate growing numbers of tourists coming here to Capitol Hill. Inside, there's a museum with an interpretive exhibit about the history of this Capitol space and history of the bills and legislation that have been passed here in our nation's Capitol. Additionally, there's tunnels that can lead you to the Library of Congress, which is just across the way. There's also cafeterias and gift shops, so you can bring some gifts back home to remember your time here on Capitol Hill. Every state sends 2 statues to the Capitol. This one of King Kamehameha of Hawaii is the tallest of all the statues here at the Capitol complex. This plaster cast was used to create the bronze statue, Statue of Freedom, that sits atop the United States Capitol Dome. This cast sat in storage for many years before being restored in 1992. It was originally put on display in the Russell Senate Office Building before being brought over here to the Capitol Visitor Center. This is the Capitol Crypt, and despite its intimidating name, nobody is buried here. Though original plans intended for President George Washington and Martha Washington to be entombed under this very place, though ultimately they were laid to rest at Mount Vernon per George Washington's personal preferences. In the Capitol Crypt, however, there are statues from all 13 of the original colonies. And I'm excited that soon Virginia will be represented here with a statue of Barbara Johns. Barbara Johns was a civil rights leader, and in fact, in 1951, at just 16 years old, Barbara Johns led a protest of 450 students at her school, protesting the poor conditions that students faced in their all-black school. Her case was folded into the Brown versus the Board of Education Supreme Court case, which ultimately ruled that segregated schools were unconstitutional. I'm excited for the day when her statue comes here to represent Virginia. And if you'll look right here, this star is the point from which all streets in Washington, D.C. originally were spaced out, per an original plan by the architect, Monsieur L'Enfant. Each street was numbered and ordered coming from this exact location. This right here is a replica of the Magna Carta, the document that was created in 1215 that really laid the foundation for what would ultimately be the ideals of our United States Constitution. As someone who has sworn an oath to uphold and defend the United States Constitution multiple times throughout my career, I am always particularly proud to think about its original beginnings. This replica of the Magna Carta was given to the United States as a gift by England to mark our bicentennial, our 200th anniversary as a nation. And notably, we certainly have come a long way in our relationship with our friend and ally, the United Kingdom, since we originally declared our independence, and certainly since the British tried to burn this building to the ground. So we just left the crypt, and I wanted to show you these stairs because these are the stairs that every 4 years on Inauguration Day, the President and the Vice President walk down these stairs and go out to face the Mall and the American people before swearing an oath of the presidency and the vice presidency. Here we are in the Rotunda. This circular room is at the center of the United States Capitol, and it connects the United States Senate with the United States House of Representatives. You may recognize this room from when a president passes away. 11 former presidents of the United States have lain in state here in the Capitol Rotunda, as well as former Senator John McCain and Rosa Parks. Here in the Rotunda, there are 8 paintings around this room. 4 of them were created by artist John Trumbull, and he was an aide-de-camp of George Washington during the Revolutionary War. They're all about 12 feet high, but here is one of the most famous ones. This is the Declaration of Independence. This painting may look familiar to you because it is found on the back of a $2 bill. One of the most remarkable paintings by John Trumbull is this one. It depicts George Washington resigning his commission as commander of the Continental Army in 1783. This is important because it set the precedent that in the United States of America, we would be led by the people, that we would not have a king or a tyrant with complete power. And this set us apart from Julius Caesar, from Napoleon, and from the precedent that was seen throughout much of the world. There are many statues throughout the United States Capitol and here in the Rotunda, but this one is among my very favorites. It's called the Portrait Monument to Lucretia Mott, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Susan B. Anthony. This was dedicated for Susan B. Anthony's 101st birthday back in 1921. And you'll note in the back, there appears to be an unfinished bust. There's a lot of stories about what that piece is supposed to be. Is it supposed to be modeled into a woman in the future who may take highest office? Or is it supposed to merely represent the future and all that women are and have been in our society? If you ask anybody here around Capitol Hill, everybody's got a different story, but certainly this statue is one that always keeps people talking. Here in the Rotunda, the most beautiful thing is if you look up. And at the top of the Rotunda, you will see a painting called the Apotheosis of Washington. And this is a painting that was created by Constantino Brumidi. He was an immigrant from Italy who came to the United States in 1852. Back in Italy, he had painted at the Vatican, and here he painted at the United States Capitol. In the United States Capitol, just off the Rotunda, there is a memorial to those who died on Flight 93 on September 11th, 2001. It's broadly understood that the hijackers of Flight 93 intended to attack the United States Capitol, and the brave passengers joined together to avert that disaster, sacrificing their own lives. Here in the Rotunda, there is a statue of President Ronald Reagan. And what's really interesting about this statue is there's part of the Berlin Wall embedded in the base of the statue. Now, in 1987, Ronald Reagan famously pointed to the Berlin Wall and said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." Here in the Rotunda, Virginia has 2 statues, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. And if you head right down this hall, straight at the end is the entrance to the United States House of Representatives. Here we're in National Statuary Hall, also called the Old Hall of the House. It was here from 1807 to 1857 that members of the House of Representatives met. Their desks were lined up in this space, and this is where they met, debated laws, and voted. Presidents like Abraham Lincoln served in this very, very space. This is one of the best examples of Greek Revival architecture. It was built to resemble an amphitheater. And back when the House of Representatives met in this space, the public sat up there and were able to see the work of the people happening here. Here in Statuary Hall is a statue of Rosa Parks. This statue is 9 feet tall, and it depicts Rosa Parks wearing the same clothes that she was wearing on the day when she decided, in protest, to not give up her seat to a white passenger on a bus. Rosa Parks is an icon in the civil rights movement here in the United States, and to see her depicted, seated, dignified, strong, is a beautiful way to remember her important role in our country's history. This is the Chamber of the United States House of Representatives, and it is one of the most important rooms in our democracy. This is where I cast my votes on behalf of Virginia's 7th District alongside my colleagues from districts across the country. This is where we debate and pass laws, and this is where much of the work of the legislative branch gets done. You might also recognize this chamber as the large room where the State of the Union takes place. The House chamber is large enough to fit officials from all 3 branches of government. Above the chamber, there is a public gallery where the American public and the press corps can watch democracy at work in person. The United States Senate has a space very similar to our House chamber in the Senate chamber. It's a slightly smaller room where it accommodates 100 members of the United States Senate, where they debate laws, ratify treaties, and approve presidential appointments. This chamber also hosts joint sessions of Congress. That's when members of the House and the Senate come together, and one of the most famous joint sessions held in this chamber was on December 8th, 1941, when President Franklin D. Roosevelt delivered his Day That Will Live in Infamy speech just 1 day after Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor. Congress passed a declaration of war only a few hours later, and the United States had thus entered the Second World War.
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
This room holds a lot of history. Another thing about this space is that we have the press corps that sits in the gallery while we're doing our business and our work, but also is in the halls outside of the House floor, outside of the House chamber. I am proud that the Capitol continues to maintain strong access for newspaper, radio, and television reporters. When I'm walking to votes and back and forth between my office building and the Capitol, I frequently walk in this hallway. And along the walls, you'll see there's art from across the country. Each congressional district is represented by pieces of art submitted through the Congressional Art Competition. Right here in the gold frame, you see the Golden Goddess, which was submitted by a high school student from Manchester High School in Chesterfield County. We are standing outside of the office of the 7th District of Virginia, here in the Longworth office building. Our office is in 1431, that's on the 4th floor of the Longworth office building. The Longworth office building is one of 3 House office buildings. We've got Rayburn and Cannon as well. The Longworth building is named after Speaker of the House Nicholas Longworth, who interestingly was also the son-in-law of Theodore Roosevelt. Here we are in my office in the Longworth House office building. This is where I do my work when I'm here on Capitol Hill, and on either side we've got the office space for the rest of our staff. Here on Capitol Hill we have our team that's focused on legislation, so speaking with constituents right alongside me, drafting up bill ideas, working with legislative counsel, so those are the attorneys who write the final legal text, and working with other offices to try and find other offices that want to co-lead and support the legislation that I'm working on. We also have our team that's in charge with communicating with you, constituents, across the district, pushing out a newsletter every week and ensuring that you all know what's happening here on Capitol Hill. In Richmond and in Henrico County in Spotsylvania, we have 2 offices where our constituent service representatives work. And those are the folks who engage with constituents in support of any challenges they may be facing with a federal agency. So you or someone you know who lives in the district can always be in touch with our office if you're having any challenges with federal agencies. In the office, we have a variety of different wall hangings that remind us of the people that we serve and the community. But one of my favorite is a picture that my daughter drew that says patriotism, and it has a heart with the United States, and heart plus United States equals patriotism. And I think that's a good reminder about the people that we serve across the country. On our hall, we have members of Congress from across the country. You can see each office is marked by the flags of the individual states. And walking down this hall, we have Wisconsin, Iowa, Virginia, New Mexico, Minnesota, and South Carolina. When I was first elected and arrived at my office on Capitol Hill, we wanted a way to ensure that our district was represented and our walls were decorated. So we launched a photo contest. And these photos that are found throughout our office are a result of that contest. We had people from across our 10 counties send in beautiful photography, making clear that at any time of year, Virginia's 7th District is an amazing place to live. Congress first met in the United States Capitol in 1800, and I hope that we continue to meet here long into the future. I hope this tour has been informative and interesting for you, and I look forward to a time when we can welcome you to the Capitol complex. Thank you so much.